Kim, welcome, and thank you for taking the time to do this. So just to set it up, you're like a CareerFoundry hero. You have gone through the course and successfully landed a fantastic job at what I think looks like a really cool agency, at least the website. The website's pretty impressive. Did you guys get a chance to look at the website?
No.
No.
Okay,
No.
I think I distinctly remember last time when Issa was talking, I tried to say, do your research. So come on, guys, you've grown up in the world of Google, so use Google.
Yes.
All right, you got to start doing that. And particularly, Issa said in our last meeting, when you go into a place, know about the place you're going into. It's hugely important if you can just say one thing that references the place you're in. They're going to be like, oh, wow, so this person is thinking, as opposed to, no, I never bother to Google anything. Somebody mentioned, when I said, who do we want to get in here? Somebody said, I want to get a junior UX person in there to talk about the day-to-day life of what it means to be working.
Yeah, Bam Bam, is it? Bam Bam, he was saying so.
Yeah.
He wanted to.
Yeah. Okay.
And he's not here.
Where is Bombang? You've landed a job. You've been working there, I think, 3 months. And they've thrown you off the deep end. And I think you're here to talk about some of the things you've worked on in your experience. And maybe what you could do is maybe bring up your website. And Kim, what I'd like you to do is talk about the company. What is it like? What is it like to be there?
Oh, okay. So the company has, we have an in-house developer team.
How many people are in your developer team?
There are 15 of them. 15,
wow.
1 5. Yeah. Okay, the internet is really sucks. Okay, so we have 15 developers. We have a UX UI team, and we also, as in for design, we have UX UI designer, and we have graphic designer. So for the graphic team, they are in charge of prints, designs, so like a brochure, catalogs. Wow, then for UX UI team, we have 2 people, me and another lady. So we in charge of working on the UX work, also UI, but mostly they focus on UI. While for UX, I have chance to work on just a few apps design and 2 websites is for UX. While the rest is actually UI work.
So just to get to get the company sort of here, you've got 15 developers, and you've got two people covering UX, and how many people covering UI?
The two of us will be doing both UX and UI.
So you've got 2 designers, and you're crossing over between UX and UI design. And you've got 15 developers. It seems obviously heavily weighted towards technology. What do you think about that? Your impression?
Yeah, actually, so you can see the dev team hardly doing OT, but the design team, we always have to stay up late because we don't have enough people. For dev team wise, because they take other projects in as well. Like for some company, they prefer to have they come up with their own design, and they just send to us, outsource to us for developing. So the dev team not only coding our in-house design, but also taking projects from others' site.
Okay.
Yeah.
But is that common? Sorry.
In Vietnam?
I guess just in general in the industry.
I can't say for other countries, but for Vietnam, it is not general. I mean, it's not common at all. Only this company, I think.
What I would say is that businesses do what they can to generate revenue and to survive.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Okay.
if there's a market in a place to say just do development, then a company will emerge to do that. I know of a number of instances where it's happened in reverse, where companies have started out as being developers and then backloaded into UX. So what generally happens is as you develop your client base, new opportunities come to light, and
Yeah.
you will do
Yeah.
what it takes to supply what your clients are asking you for.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Lauren is right because starting in 2015, this company is just a graphic design company. Basically, they do printing work like brochure, catalogs, name cards, and brandings like logos and brand guidelines. Then they start to shift to web-based. So they start on UI, then they hit onto technology like doing development for front end. Then they expand their dev team into back end, and now they start to include UX and UI into their company as well. And they start to drop off on the branding part, the branding team. They totally cut off the branding team.
Ah.
So they no longer do branding work.
Would you say that's the reason why you guys don't have, you've only got 2 people for both the UX and the UI team?
Because in Vietnam, we hardly encounter clients that have the budget to do a full UX scope.
Talk about that a little more. You're basically saying you don't get the budgets for the projects to do the entire UX process.
Yes.
Talk about that.
So, because as you know, UX process is a very long process, right? And you have to involve a lot of people. Even like interviewing user is involving costs. But for a lot of business, they don't see the importance of paying for research. They don't see the importance of doing so much research and data to just do up a website.
That should bring up a whole lot of like, wait a minute here, right? Like, doesn't anybody go,
Yeah.
wait a minute, I'm learning all this stuff.
Because I can speak English, so I'm in the team I'm with the account team and the boss. We got to meet up with client and discuss with them. So let's say I get to work on this website. I'm gonna show you guys. It's a Singapore-based company, but they have their offices in Vietnam, and this is about water solution, like environment and water needs, and the website sucks. So yeah.
Boy, do they need a new website.
OMG. Okay. So they approached us to improve the design of the website. So as usual, I did a proposal, analyze how horrible this website looked, how user-friendly and everything. So I analyzed every single page.
You analyzed the pages and you did like heuristic analysis, right? Would you say?
Yes.
Yep. So you guys remember what that is, heuristic analysis. So exactly how did you present that to the client?
So y'all all can see the presentation now, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I did, the first part is a website analysis. So I analyze, this is the structure of the current homepage. The red color part is what can be improved. And this is the pictures of the whole design, current design. So that when you present, you don't have to have another extra screen to show them what is the current design look like.
How long did this meeting take where you presented your results, and how did it go?
About 2 hours.
Ooh, that's a long meeting. And how did it go?
Okay, so the client agreed to let us work on the structure of the website, but they are heavily they stress heavily on the UI of it rather than the UX of it.
Okay, take note, you guys. So this is not uncommon that, people think of doing the work we do as just being design, just if it looks good, and less emphasis placed on what it's saying, when in fact, what it's saying is twice as important as what it looks like.
Yep. Yep. So it's quite difficult for me to tell them that this structure is more important than how beautiful. Well, why should it be hexagon, or should it be a round, or should it be a square, or should it has radius? They are more into how big the numbers or everything, rather than what should it be include and the hierarchy of what we're gonna introduce in the homepage.
It's a little bit crazy, but I would concur that this is a very common experience, that people are more concerned with the way something looks than what it is saying.
Yeah. Even though I purposely put this in front to tell them that this is your current homepage and these are the problems, and I'm going to introduce these new items in where it helps you to, blah, 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 then all the hierarchy. Then they have no comment. But once I come to this, they go like, why it hexagon? Why it doesn't have any radius? I don't really like the look of this. And why the matrix of my current location? They don't really the importance of information architectures.
So the good news, though, the opportunity here is to do both. We know that we're going to do good design. We know that we're going to hand off good design. But by doing the strategic thinking underneath and making those right decisions, you do it for them anyway, even though they don't realize how important it is.
Yeah. So we just do it for them anyway. So here is like when I break down of the current, the new, this is the overall view of the homepage. And here is the breakdown of smaller parts and how they navigate through it. And this is the current one, which is the existing structure.
This is amazing what you've done here. You're 3 months into this job. Your experience as an interior designer is extremely helpful, but as a UX designer, this is all new to you. Aren't you guys like the rest of you? Aren't you thinking, "Oh my God, how did you do this?"
I'm floored.
I'm very impressed by the websites.
But the process, right? The process that she's going through. So Kim,
it's very thorough.
Well, and Kim, how are you able to do this? And you guys, aren't you curious? Like, how are you able to do this?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
So Kim,
I don't know. I just feel very bad looking at this. It needs to be improved.
You motivated you.
I don't blame you. This is a horrible website, and what you've kind of created is beautiful.
Yeah. So.
Did someone show you what to do, or did you figure it out?
No, because when I joined, like 2 days later, the lead UX designer quitted.
Oh.
So that's explain why all the project dumped into me. Then after that, last week my boss hired another lady, but she's even more fresh grad than me because she was from graphic design and she just wanted to learn UX UI. So my boss hired her. So she didn't even know how to use Sketch. But Lawrence, you have been seeing my submission, right? So I'm very good at doing presentation.
Right.
So I can't explain to you why I do presentation. I'm just from my habit as an interior designer to bring idea across.
There's definitely a logic and reason that goes into your presentation, though. You're telling a story, and you've structured the presentation in a way that communicates what you need to communicate.
Yep.
Yeah, you did a really, really good job with this. Like, after looking at this slide closely, it's nice to see that you put a little note next to each nav option, and it doesn't beat around the bush.
Yeah.
Yeah, because my boss told me that she's gonna present it instead of me, and I'm the one who did the whole analysis. So I go like, oh shit. So I have to do it the way that she present, not me. So I have to think of a way to do up the presentation. That's why I put all the notes and then all this so that she didn't have to reference to another screen to point out. Then at the end, she told me that, oh, never mind, you just do it because I couldn't understand everything. So I had to present the whole thing, but it was good that when you do up a presentation, you do it in such a way that someone else is presenting it. Then it will be clearer for other people to see.
Did you guys hear that clearly? What she said? Okay.
I think it's like she's done it in a way where she's kind of like how to say it? Like she's thought of the objections that might come up already and has handled that in advance.
Yeah, I would agree.
This is pretty impressive, right? And I hope this isn't having the adverse effect of you thinking, how could I ever do this? I think you rise to the occasion. But if you look at the situation that Kim has found herself in, it's filled with opportunity, but she needs to respond to this opportunity successfully, I mean, I think we can all sense that she's doing it brilliantly, but these are the kind of opportunities that you might find out there. It's such a shifting landscape and there's a lot of need for it, but you've got to be ready to figure out how to problem solve the situations that you find yourself in.
Can I just say that I hope I can, attack the same opportunity as well as Kim has? Because my God.
Okay, so but we wasn't talking about this, right? We was talking about what companies. Okay, why people didn't have money to pay for UX process in Vietnam? Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know how much they pay for renovating this website? $500.
No.
Like what
That's
kind of job?
peanuts.
And they said it's expensive.
$500 doesn't get you anything.
$500 is so cheap for a new web design.
What are you guys going to do for that? Are you going to redesign it and rebuild it?
Okay, so they willing to pay a lot of money for development because they thought that development is difficult. But for design, because they have an in-house design team, which did a wonderful job for the map, by the way. Mm-hmm. And they said the design team only take like 2 hours to come up with the map. So why would we take like few weeks or months for a website?
Oh dear.
So people thought, design is design. Like everything, like every kind of design is also generating it as just a design. Like designing job is just using Photoshop, putting things on top of each other, export as JPEG.
It's so underrated. Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
it's underrated.
Don't they want the beautiful design that you laid out as a sample? And in all the research that goes into it, like perfect world?
Yeah, that's what we did to impress them, because we after this, okay, they approached us and offer and said their budget is $500 for developing the website, and my boss was shocked. So she told me to impress them, to tell them that, hey, design work is not just simple like playing with Photoshop and exporting images. It won't take 1 hour or 2 hours to do it on a website. So we invested on a very good presentation to tell them that it's actually this much is only spent to analyze their homepage and to come up with a homepage. And their structure is like, there's how many pages here. Yeah, so after that, they kind of appreciate our effort, and I think got a deal of like $200 for each page, which I think is still very cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
What's the average price per page then?
There's actually they don't have, because normally people will pay by man day, like they're gonna give you a website and you're gonna estimate how many days you're gonna take to design it and count by man day. So let's say your pricing is like $500 a day. So if the website took you 7 days or 1 month, then you just times by that amount.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, another way to think about it, and it's a very, very complicated part of business. It takes a certain amount of resource to develop a website. So you need to put a certain number of people on the project, and that costs money. So it is the time that it takes and the resource that's applied. Usually, the client doesn't come to you and say, I've got $500, make me a website. Usually, you entice the client to work with you through presentation, and then you deliver them an estimate of cost based on the scope of project. And it's a very, very difficult art to understand what it's going to take to develop a project of this kind. Some people think that a website should cost $29.95, because there are these low-end website developers that claim they can build you a website for $29.95. But then again, there's also companies that invest large amounts of money because they realize the value and the return they'll get by having a great experience online. So Kim, what else have you been doing?
Okay, so this is one of them. I have been doing a lot of things. What do you feel like seeing? Okay, so this is 8 days. 8 days is 8 days is a application for factory worker order food for lunch, dinner, and basically lunch, dinner, and breakfast. So we work on Figma, and I'm in charge of the admin screen, which will be viewed on desktop. Here is the design for. So we have a navigation bar and the admin of the factory, and this is a registration screen. Okay, so for this part, we work on the UX and UI as well, because we only have the Excel list from the client to get all this info. Okay, if you're gonna ask me what an Excel list gonna look like, it's gonna look like this.
Wait, what's the program you're working in?
Figma. It's like Google Docs, so like everyone can work on it at the same time.
Really? So it's like Sketch met Google Docs?
Yeah, it is. It's
Do
really
you
cool.
like it?
Yes, I do. It's much better than Sketch in my opinion. It never crash unless unless Chrome crash, because it's an app-based. It's a browser-based program, and it's very fast. It never lag.
Okay, that's really good to know.
Yeah, so I have a very slow computer at work. I couldn't run Sketch, but I can run Figma fluidly, like very smoothly, because it treated it as running Chrome, so it's very fast. Then the Excel data gonna look like this. Can you ask me other question while I'm sending the file over to my computer?
Well, I'm really curious about what is your day-to-day like? Like what is it like every day? Are you in meetings most of the day? Are you at your desk working most of the day? Are you putting in more than 8 hours a day? What's your life like?
For me, I work from 9:30 to about 7:30 p.m. every day. It's quite hectic, but it's not as hectic as my interior design job. So for me, it's quite relaxing. It's confusing because I was working as an interior designer in Singapore, and in Singapore the construction line, they have two teams. They work day shift and night shift, so I have to be on site day and night to check.
Oh.
So I can only if they start work the night shift at 2 p.m., I mean 2 a.m. in the morning, I have to be there at 2 a.m. to guide them what to do first before I can go home and rest.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so for UX design is actually quite relaxing because I can control the amount of work that I need to do.
How much of your day is spent in meetings and how much of your day is spent actually working? And do you find yourself bringing your work home or what?
Okay, I don't really bring my work home, but I do use Harvest. Harvest is an app for me to track my my working time, and so whenever I start any project, I will start tracking. Then so at the end of the day, I can see how much time I have spent on a single project. So this is under Red Airship. Red Airship is a company in Singapore that they outsource us to do UX and UI for them. I will go through their project later, but this is an account that they send to us. They also wanted to check our performance on every screen on design, so you can see like by week. So in our office, my boss also track our performance based on time tracking app like this.
Kim, what brings you joy through this process? Like, what has been your favorite thing? Where in the 3 months that you've been thrown into the water?
Oh, my favorite thing?
Yeah.
I think my favorite thing is is how challenging it is. I guess. Yeah, like you got to crack your brain to make your client appreciate what you have done, or you have to think of a way to incorporate like data, like this mess into a design, and this is all your client give it to you. So this is what they give it to me for the menu part, and this is the design that we came up with.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's intense.
Yeah,
That's
so this is
really
one of our brief is really just that much, like only this. And so we started the project with this Excel list, and then we start to narrow down how can it break down, what part, like the structure, and then we go into design screen by screen.
So
Wow.
the average brief can range anywhere from like an Excel sheet to a traditional brief.
I'm sorry again, I couldn't get it.
So your briefs, they can range anywhere from an Excel sheet to a traditional, like, here's the objective, here's what we want you to do.
Yeah, so this is like the data sheet that they give it to us, and they tell us that they needed an app that to, for factory worker to order food. So we just they give it us this list, so we just sit down, come up with a structure, and then walk through with them on their needs and wants for the app. Yeah.
So it's probably more fair for you to say that you created your own brief in a way. So the Excel spreadsheet is raw data, and you used it as a way to figure out what you had to do to solve the problem.
Yeah, because a lot of clients didn't know how to come up with a brief properly. All they have is like data and some ideas that they draw on the napkins, that kind of thing. And our job is to guide them, and so we always have a standard brief in our office with our company logos and everything, with all the questions listed down. So we'll meet up the client, ask them the question, note it down, and we use that list combined with the data that they gave us to come up with the design.
So I just want to reinforce what Kim just said. because I think one of the important things is that you are leading your client to the solution. The clients don't generally know. They think they know what they need, but they don't have the tools to describe it correctly. And oftentimes what they do describe isn't actually what they end up needing once you take a look at the problem. So keep that in mind, that your job as a UX designer can be very strategic in that you're not an order taker. You're not just doing what you're told to do. You're actually solving the problem at its very basic level often, if not always. Since we're looking at about 15 minutes left here tonight, any questions, any conversation about this part of it?
Well, I guess Kim's situation is definitely, like everyone else has said, and has gone right into the deep end. Would you say this is a typical UX junior designer first experience?
Oh, but okay, I do have some like thought that I would like to share, like with all the junior, to help y'all work faster, and like especially the developer handoff. If y'all remember last time, I had trouble with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, so for design wise, I think we have to base on, like, you all know the grid system, right?
Oh, what system?
Grid system. Grid. Yeah. So we all use a grid system, but we got to discuss with the developer first, like what kind of grid they're gonna use, because I just encountered a project that the developer used a different grid system, and then the design come up, how to say, like messy here and there. But because it is the developer fault, but he did not aware of it. Like I didn't expect them to did not understand. So what I did was to submit one design as it is and one design with the grid turned on, so they can see that what grid did I follow throughout. You get what I mean?
So you made a uniform grid that could be used across your platform and the developers?
Yeah, but when we send out design for developer, normally we just send an image, a nice looking, a complete image without the grid turned on. So without the grid turned on, the developer couldn't tell what grid system did we follow. So
okay.
yeah, so when I submit, I actually did two versions. One version with grid and one version is without. Just so that they will know what kind of grid system we use. You get it?
Yeah.
So this
Right. Yeah.
These two screens is the same. One is with grid, one is without grid. So they will know
Right. Okay.
how the alignment work. And another thing that I didn't really get it until I really work hand in hand with a developer is actually the line height. So how to say, because I was used to Photoshop, and I thought that the text is based on like the letter itself, which is from here to here. But for developer, text is based on the box surrounded. So if you see code, they actually count from the box and away. Right, you see the distance away? 55, 197, 33.
Yeah.
They actually count by the box. So yeah.
So not the actual.
Not the text.
Ah.
So we have to, and what define the box? What define the box? Actually, the line height. So if you have a text of okay, let's say 14 pixel. Right now my line height is 16, so the box is very small. Do y'all see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have, and my height is actually, my text is 90 pixel, but because of my line height is 16, so the box is very small. So if you send this design to the developer, they will have trouble seeing the distance away of this text to other, the alignment of this text to other, because it's actually aligned to the box, which is 42. Yeah. So that is another problem that I had. So always remember to align your to have your line height setting correctly.
Okay.
So 90, then you'll see it's aligned properly, which is 35. The distance away is 35. Yeah, I have this problem. I didn't understand until I encountered the coding issue, and yeah, finally I got it.
So this and a million other sort of things that could come up in the process, and I think a bigger idea behind this is how it's all connected, in that the person who does the upfront strategic thinking and writes the brief needs to hand off correctly to the person who does the UX design, who needs to hand off correctly to the person who does the UI design, who needs to hand off correctly to the person who does the coding. So it's like
chain reaction.
Yeah, it's like a chain, and you don't want to be the weak link. You're all supporting each other throughout this process.
And one more thing, I got a chance to work on a voice app. So lucky. Okay. Anyway.
Yeah, cool.
So the voice app, this is like CBCA bank, I think. Okay. So it's for a bank in Singapore. It's called OCBC, and they are doing a voice, like they testing a voice features is an in-app features. So I was requested to propose the first 4 screen after click a button in the app. So there will be a button here for them to click, and it will activate the voice features. So and after you click on it, it will launch like an onboarding screen to tell you that tap on the mic icon to start talking. Then okay, no, not this. Then follow up is tell them about the keyboard. They can click to bring up the keyboard. And this is a screen where it's recording. So you have this, and you have this part, which is our voice, and this is the answer from the AI. Then, that's all I have. I think I didn't copy back enough. But yeah, basically that is the voice, the first proposal of our part to OCBC Bank in Singapore. And how to say, I wish that I did take the the extension course from CareerFoundry, where you got to learn, got to work with Google. Alexa from Amazon.
Yeah.
If I take that course, I think I could do a much better job than this. So yeah, if I have chance, I definitely gonna take that course, because I didn't expect to encounter a voice app request. I mean, a voice app job. So if y'all have time, maybe you can just take that course, because it's quite helpful in futures.
That's really good to know.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely learned a lot from this, that's for sure. Very eye-opening. Very, very eye-opening.
Any other questions?
I think if I have any more, I will reach out to you, because this addresses what you've kind of covered addresses a lot of the concerns that I have
Oh, okay. Yep. Just
In
regard.
terms of like the first 3 months of like what could possibly happen, and this is a perfect example of all hell breaking loose, and you handled it like with grace.
Yeah. Oh, and sometimes your clients, if they fall in love with a website, they just gonna ask you to copy the website, and you feel so insulted because you don't copy anyone, but your client will refuse every single design proposal that you give to them, and they just said no, copy it. I love it.
And you gotta
What do you
tell them
do?
it's wrong.
And your boss will like, he paid for it, so can you just do it? And you are like, okay, another project cannot go to portfolio. So sometimes with that kind of project gonna get in between. Yeah.
Is that very common as well?
Not that common, but I do encounter one in my last 3 months. In my last 3 months, yeah, once.
That's a little disheartening.
Yeah.
One of the things that I say to you guys, though, through the course is this Picasso quote, good artists borrow, great artists steal. I think, keep in mind that we are not necessarily reinventing the wheel, so to speak, in every project that we're doing. I just want us to not get too hung up on the idea that we have to develop an original idea every time. However, there's two sides to this sword. One is it explains why the web all looks the same all the time. But on the other hand, don't get hung up on the idea that you have to be original in everything you do. There are best practices that we're dealing with. So somehow ride that balance. And then also, as you mature as designers, you'll find your own voice, so to speak, whether that's visual or strategic or whatever. But you'll begin to develop your own sense of the right solutions. So in the meantime, definitely use Google, research, see what other people are doing. When you're in a situation with a client, though, and they say, I love this, duplicate this, yeah, that's a problem. It makes you feel sort of like, well, what am I doing here? You can also take that in a number of ways. I like the sensibility of this. I like the character and personality of this piece. You can then change it and make it more appropriate to their brand. You can also use it as a good starting point for the work you do, for the discovery you do. I always want to know what my clients like, what they think is good, because it does help you successfully design for the client. It doesn't mean you have to just copy it. You can make it more appropriate for their brand, because let's face it, at the end of the day, it's not about what you like or what they like or what someone else likes. It's about what works for the brand, which is a complicated question. It's easy to say, more difficult to dissect. What works for a brand means it increases their business. It represents the brand in a positive way. It's a memorable, good experience. Many, many other factors that go into defining what works for the brand. All right, so for you quiet people out there, Ellen, I was talking to you today, and you asked the question, is UX more important than UI? I'd like us to talk about that for a second.
Okay.
And Ellen, go ahead and say it in your own words, if you want to. But I think this idea of like, what's more important, UX or UI? So Ellen is taking the UI course.
Yes, because I'm just, from what I'm hearing and what I was Googling and looking at the job market, it seems like people were looking more for UX than UI. So I was just a little bit concerned if I should focus more on UX as well after graduating.
Well, if I can impart on that, like what's interesting is I want to do more UI than UX, but I'm doing UX because the way it's like, well, if I want to be a really good UI designer, I need to understand how how I got from point A to point B, so my designs can communicate that like very clearly. So on one hand, I initially was fighting the research, and now I'm like really starting to embrace and love it. And actually, it's funny because now I'm starting to get into the design phase of it all, and I'm fighting it. Which is something, Lawrence, I actually need to schedule a talk with you about that. So I'll do that later.
So Kim, what do you think about that? Is UI more important than UX? And coming from your direct experience.
I don't think so. Okay, it's really true, like beauty in the eyes of the beholder, because it depends on how your client view what is important to their website. So when my client view UI is more important to the website, I have no choice but to secretly do the UX work behind and do a very good job in UI for them to get the whole package of a good website.
Right.
If you couldn't educate your client that, hey, UX is actually very important for your website too. So, but for some clients, they really appreciate UX work, so they really let me not really reinvent, but really go into analyzing, spend time on how to, just for a form, right? They really give me like a day to work on different kind and how should it function on mobile, how will it work on desktop, what will be the best for the user. So those clients, I really appreciate them, and they are the one who know that UX is actually more important than UI. So if you're working for client, it really depends on your client. What kind of client do you get?
Sure.
Yeah.
I think reading between the lines of what you said too, it sounds like they're both important. So if we were to sort of visualize it in a different way, let's say we're talking about making a feature film, would you ask, is the acting more important than the writing, or is the editing more important than the cinematography? And we can easily see at that point, when one piece of it is not as good, the entire process is weakened.
Yeah.
Agreed. Because if you have a bad story, then what's the point of having beautiful cinematography?
Right.
Exactly.
And we've seen examples of all of this. We've seen like really beautifully shot films that have no story, or we've seen really poorly acted films that have incredible scripts. You know, it's
Right.
interesting. Yeah.
Right. Well, Kim, would it be okay if in the future I reach out to you with as I go further into this course with questions from to get a real world perspective?
Yep.
And we're
Awesome.
we're gonna keep the group, and hopefully, alumni of the course will continue participating in the group chat, and I'll keep inviting everybody to these group chats. Hey, most of your clients are in Singapore.
Yeah, Singapore and Korea.
And Korea, and you're based out of Saigon.
Yeah.
So, do you have offices in Singapore that does the selling part, or how do you get these projects?
No, we don't have an office in Singapore, but because my boss was studied in Singapore, and she has a lot of networking in Singapore, so she just happened to get projects there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And we are a startup incubator for Korea. I don't know. It's linked with some startup incubator in Korea. So quarterly, they will send their startup team to Singapore. To my office. My office is like a shared office, so we have dedicated decks for Korean team. So they will pick 1 year they will pick the best 4 startups that work for Vietnam industry. Then they will send them to my office, and we will aid them in the design part and the coding part. So they come with us for ideas, and we will help them with designing and coding to make it come true. So my boss worked with the Korean incubator to make that happen, because the renting and the desk, renting an office in Vietnam is very cheap. Rather than spending time in Korea, they come to Vietnam for development.
Interesting.
Yeah. So the 8 days app application that you just see is a Korean application for Samsung factory in Vietnam. And it's done by a startup in Korea.
So your office, you said you had 15 developers.
Yeah.
And you have 2 design, UX and UI design people. And then you have your management team, which would be your bosses. I'm assuming there's a couple of people who consider themselves the management team.
I'm the lead UX designer now. Hello. Okay, so we have UX UI team. Then we have account team, which will be dealing with client.
Yeah, how many people?
We have 3 person for account. 3. Then we have an operation manager. We have 1. And my boss. And 1 admin.
1 admin. So let me ask you this. Does it feel chaotic at your place, or does it feel structured and organized?
Okay. Because I have to talk to the client directly because they just feel better with someone who can speak Singlish. So it's kind of chaotic for me because I have to design and handle Singapore client at the same time, and most of our clients are Singaporean. But for other team, which is the graphic team, it's okay because the account team will handle all the client communication, and they just take direction from the account part.
Well, it was kind of a loaded question because we're talking about process, and you guys, we learn all about process in the course, and process is a big word. But I wanted to sort of shed some reality on the concept of process. So if I were to ask you, how often do you feel like you're putting out a fire? How often does that happen in your daily life at the office?
I think I was trained in the interior design industry, like being awake at 2 a.m. in the morning guide worker who doesn't speak English, only speak Chinese or Malay. So this is like nothing.
I think what I'm trying to say is, because I think I understand, but the industry, the business in the kind of work you're doing, which is in a marketing company, you're like a service marketing company. There's a lot of sort of putting out fires. There's a lot of responding to things you didn't expect that happen every day. Like things pop up and you have to respond to them.
I think it's happened like every 2 hours. Whenever we got feedback from client, it's really fire because we gonna scream like, "Oh my God, boss! She actually wanted this, not what we proposed."
Right.
And then my boss was like, but she already confirmed with me verbally. And then we were like, we had to redesign, and it's not in our quotation.
Yeah,
and we had to call them and tell them like, hey, this is not in the quotation. You got to pay more. And client were like, no, I'm not gonna pay more.
Yeah.
All this kind of thing. Yeah.
It's rough.
So about like 2 hours. 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah.
Those.
Okay. Any other questions? Any news from you guys? David, I'm not talking to you anymore, and Yusul, I'm not talking to you guys anymore on a regular basis. How are you guys doing out there?
I'm talking to recruiters, but I guess the process in Japan is a little different. So, companies would rather have a PDF of your work rather than viewing a website.
Wow.
So I needed to transfer everything from the website, put it into a PDF.
Wow.
And then I needed to get like a rireki, and I needed to make my resume and whatnot all in Japanese. So that was kind of a pain. But I finally finished all of that and submitted it to the recruiters this past, I think, maybe Tuesday. So hopefully something will come up.
Going through the recruitment
Good luck.
process can be very tedious, but when it rewards you, it really rewards you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
And Yusul, I didn't hear what you said. What's going on?
Well, okay, I'm waiting for the news, but not yet, nothing yet.
Ah, all right. All right, cool. So, guys, next time, I'll try and think of something to do. Was this good? Good meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Yeah.
Really good.
Thoughts for next time? What do we want to talk about? What do we want to do? Part of what we do is it's just sort of a support group, right? Just getting together and talking is a good thing. But
It's nice to see everyone.
yeah,
It really is.
but what do we do as a topic, as a subject? Any thoughts?
How about programs, sharing info on each other's programs and experiences? Because we had a couple of questions recently on that, and before as well.
I support that. I'm so clueless in that regard.
So something that just deals with the kinds of applications we can use as designers, you mean?
Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, that's what you mean, though, right? That's a good idea.
Yeah.
All right. So that's a really good idea. So what I'll do in between now and then is I'm going to try and get a survey from you guys as to what applications you're using, and maybe the people who are, working with experts on certain apps can kind of talk about them and present them. Okay. That's a really good idea.
Yay.
Because the one that like Kim is using, that's really cool, and like I'm considering switching over to a PC in the next couple months, and I know unless Sketch has changed in the last couple months, Sketch isn't available on any other platform than on iOS. So that's why you notice I've been a bit more active in the chat lately. So I've been using like Adobe XD and like experimenting with that, but it's a bit of like a headache.
Yeah.
No, Figma work exactly like Sketch and even better. And the good thing is because it's a link, so you can share with anyone. And your developer doesn't have to use Mac to see your design.
Yeah, no, that's what I really like. No, like that's what I'm getting at. If you're saying it's just like Sketch but better, then I don't have to really worry.
Yeah, you can just go to Medium and search Figma. There will be like hundreds of articles telling you to switch from Sketch to Figma.
Okay.
And
thank you so much.
For actual work, developer they love to code at night, like midnight, and designer sleep. So the good thing is they can just access your file anytime because it's a link, and it's always your latest design. You don't have to if they need something and they gonna wake you up at 2 a.m. and say, hey, I need this icon. Can you send it to me? And then you have to take your sketch file, export it to SVG, and then send it to them. Figma is always there.
True.
Latest design. Yeah. And it's good for working with off-team development. Like if the developer is somewhere else, it's very good because different time zone and anything is you don't have to share a very big file because Sketch in the long run is tend to get very big, very huge. The file.
Yeah.
I think one thing I would like to add on to this like impending topic of programs is like workflow as well. So when I'd be interested in exploring, when you use this program, what stage do you use it in? How can it affect, positively or negatively your workflow? Just because, I want to try and speed up my workflow as quickly as I can. Finding something that fits, everyone would be nice.
Okay, cool. All right, well, I'll set that up and we'll talk about it. In the meantime, I'll be recruiting some of you guys to talk about applications that you're using, and we'll go from there. All right, cool. Thank you all. Thank Kim. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Once again.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.